Yeah, I was actually sitting in my first period junior U.S. history class at the old Mount Juliet High School, of course.
I was teaching at Mount Juliet High School. My first period class or first block class was AP Calculus. And that that year was all seniors. And we had our first senior panoramic picture that morning.
We were outside taking our senior panoramic picture. We had no idea what was going on, so it was very lighthearted and a lot of laughing.
And as I was escorting my students back inside, I noticed in the office that the office staff were huddled around a television screen. And I popped in and said, "What's going on?"
As we entered the building, it was very quiet, and a lot of the teachers had the TVs turned on.
We were sitting there, and of course, at that point, you had the old big box TVs on the wall, and another teacher basically just came running in. It was like, "You got to turn the news on." And so we turned it on, and we saw what had happened after the first plane had hit.
And I thought, that's odd, and went on back up to class and had class that day.
My initial reaction was maybe it was like a single, like one of those little single engine, and somebody just, had a really, really bad screw up. And so that's what I kind of, as we were watching it, that's what I was thinking. And then, once seeing that second one fly in, that kind of changed the game a little bit.
Our classrooms were equipped with a television screen, which was, we could get maybe 2 or 3 channels on the TV screen. And that was the only live information that we had coming in. And then there was the debate, do we allow our teachers to show that to their students throughout the school day, or do we shut that down?
During second block, people started jumping out of the building, and that's when they made us turn off the TVs.
And it was later in the day that we began to realize that there were lots of things happening, not just the Twin Towers.
I mean, it was pretty silent. We were all kind of dug in. And then there was a group kind of on the other side of the classroom who were kind of still talking and giggling and just thinking we were watching TV. And he and Coach Sims kind of let them have it pretty good.
People often don't know how to react or respond to difficult information. Someone in the audience might laugh because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to feel. So it was somber and quiet, but there were also some strange reactions to the information throughout the day, not just from students, but also from adults, just not knowing how to respond or react.
And you could hear a pin drop in between classes. And at that time at the old middle school, we were, packed in those little hallways. And so, just the quietness and the uncertainty of what was going on. Everybody was kind of confused.
I was with my students. I was teaching math. As new information came in, I tried to put it in its place, but that was a struggle to do so.
It was a very quiet day. Not a lot of teaching happened. It was a lot of just kind of like, let's review. Obviously, they still wanted to have, a productive type day and make it as normal for us as possible.
I do think that the human brain has a wonderful ability to categorize and departmentalize. And I do think it's healthy. I do think that a lot of people learn to do that around September 11th. That does not mean that you aren't grieving, aren't distressed, or don't care. It just means that there are also other things that still have to happen. And I think the brain's ability and the human mind's ability to departmentalize events and activities is a very healthy thing to do at times.
We had cell phones back then, but you couldn't text. You could only make phone calls. And the cell phone towers were full, obviously, of people trying to call home. So a lot of the day was full of everyone trying to get in contact with their family members to make sure everyone was okay. I remember Miss Dickens letting me leave the classroom to call my dad, who was supposed to be on a plane to New York that morning. and they ended up grounding his flight. So it was just relief once I actually spoke to him and knew that he had missed his flight that day.
You know, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, I think there was a let's go get them attitude. And that was kind of the front. But deep down, you know, I think being honest, it was, you know, being terrified, like what just happened, you know, what's going on.
And I just remember there was a heaviness for the rest of the week. There was a heaviness, lots of questions and conversations that no one knew how to have.
The rest of the week was very strange because as the week went on, you started to realize that it was going to impact us more than we thought. Because as a senior in high school, you really didn't think, well, this doesn't mean a lot to me. But as you walk the halls and you start to see all of your friends in their ROTC gear, it was a very somber rest of the week for a lot of us.
All of a sudden, man, you're starting to think about things like this. And you're starting to think about, you know, friends that had joined the military and friends that had gone, you know, the Marine Corps, the Air Force or whatever. And then you start thinking, man, those guys are probably going to have to go, you know, and fight in this fight. And so, you know, I think for me, you know, more than anything, it was more of just a reality check of, you know, this is kind of a wake up call at 16 to, you know, man, this is what this is really like. And this is what can happen at the drop of a dime.
There was an immediate togetherness among Americans. People admired first responders. They recognized what first responders actually do. There was an increased respect for our military. There was an increased respect for leadership.
What you see today is not what you saw 20 years ago. 20 years ago, once 9/11 happened, I feel like we all came together as a nation. I think there was a lot of pride in America. I do feel like as people are older, especially now that a lot of people haven't even been alive in 9/11, I think we've lost that camaraderie that 9/11 brought us.
And then, almost as a corollary to that, we saw new bias that we probably hadn't really noticed before towards certain other countries and other nationalities, other ethnicities, which that's a negative and somewhat lasting, I think, effect that September 11th had on our country and our people.
You know, I just think more than anything for, you know, these kids in school today and even younger generations, you know, just the importance of things like this. You know, it's a sad day for so many people and kind of respecting that. And, you know, a lot of these, I know these kids weren't born when that happened. But, you know, just to treat a day like that, just with the utmost respect to, you know, our servicemen and women, because you don't know who you're going to run across who was impacted by it.
I think anybody that was there or alive during that time and they remember seeing those pictures and those videos, anytime that we watch them, I show my kids them, I'm automatically put back in that same place. I'm automatically walking those school hallways. I'm automatically seeing fear on my classmates' faces. It's just something that will always stick with me.
When I watch the specials on TV, like right now, PBS is running a 9/11 documentary, if you will. And it's easy to go back and relive some of those thoughts and feelings that I had around that time. And I'm thankful to be in a country where we have the freedom to do that.